Hello, everyone. Welcome to one more podcast of the Athletic School. Today, our guest speaker is Joseph Leary. He played Division One football, remarkable background in fitness and health, bachelor in kinesiology, opened his own gym not too long ago, and he's also a high school coach. Joe, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for having me.
Well, to begin with, I want to know a little bit about your experience playing D1, playing football D1. That's not for everyone. So tell me a little bit how was that experience?
Well, it was an interesting experience. I had a few friends that went Division One as well, and they were all different. But my experience was since I went to Rice University, it was more of an academic school. So football was there, but at the same time, I had a rigorous education aspect of it as well. So it was a little bit different than my friends. So wake up at 4 in the morning in the summer, then 5:30 later on, and this is a year-round thing. So I had the opportunity to play against some great players, but the work ethic that you go into college expecting to do is really you can't imagine it because you're like, well, I did this in high school, I did this, but you have to push because they are the best of the high school players, and the
Yeah.
higher you get, the better they get. So it was an amazing experience. I was able to get out of there and graduate, and then of course I injured myself, so that was an experience as well.
Yeah.
And but I've grown from it, and I think it was a big part of who I am today.
Yeah, and then I want to talk about the injury because if I read correctly, I mean, you could probably keep pushing and, go to the NFL one day, if everything works out. But of course, injuries, it's a thing. No,
Yeah.
so that's not really how we wanted to, but it happens. So I know you had an injury. So how did you deal with that?
Well, I was actually really young when it happened. I ended up tearing both of my hamstrings, which was big in itself. And they were like, "You shouldn't be able to walk." Then I actually came back from that and played again, and tore both of my quads, which
My God.
it sounds crazy, but it did happen. They're still visible. And the first time I got injured with the hamstrings, I didn't take it the best. I was like, I was somewhat depressed. I was so young, and they were like, "This is a terrible injury, and you shouldn't be walking. You shouldn't be doing all this stuff." But I was able to come back, and a year later, I was able to play again. So, and then the second time I got injured with my quads, my mind had matured, and I'd already been there. So I really had the mindset of if it's meant to happen, it will happen. And I didn't really put being in the NFL as my main goal. It was to use football to get through college. And that's exactly what it did. So I was able to push past that and just have that mindset of, well, if I can't play, then let me finish up helping coach. And I coach some players that are still in the NFL now, and able to give knowledge that I couldn't use necessarily on the field. So, and that takes me on to coaching. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
everything does happen for a reason, for sure.
Yeah, no, and I like that. If we look back in and study kind of a little bit of coaches that are successful, not a lot of them played a lot when they were playing. They learned
Exactly.
so much, maybe because they got an injury or because they were sitting on the sidelines and they had a different point of view. And
Yeah.
there's this volleyball coach from Brazil. He's extremely successful, gold in the Olympics many times, and he barely played. And then
Yeah.
he talked about that in his book, how sitting from the sideline helped him learn so much more that today he's able to pass that along to his players, and that's why he became a successful coach. So yeah, I mean
Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So after that, you get your bachelor's degree. You start your own business, and then you started the Joe Fitness, which you call Average Joe Fitness. So I want to know why that name, and how did you start that? Why did you start? You know what you up to right now with that?
So, I've had a couple, because I started a business in Texas and it was called Next Level Fitness. And I did that and it was successful. Then COVID happened and all that. But the start of that was, the point was to get you to the next level. Whether your next level would be to get on the high school football team or a high school track team, whatever, or to make it to college. And I actually did some NFL prep as well. But moving on to Average Joe, kind of realigning, especially moving to Washington, football is a little bit different than Texas. My training was more for people that didn't have the opportunities that some of the people in the upper class have, but also people that are just normal people. 'Cause I felt always with myself that I'm just normal. I just do what I'm asked to do, and I go hard all the time. So it's more about the effort and everything that you put into it, rather than what you necessarily look like.
Yeah.
I graduated from high school at 159 pounds. So I was small, but people didn't realize that. So,
Hmm.
but I was an average sized person. I was strong, I was fast, but I had to work to get there. So I used that to really say that if you really want to be there, you can get there.
That's awesome, and I love the message. And nowadays you are coaching high school, right? And I heard good things about it. So I want to know more about that. How is that experience being a coach? You know, what's the main challenge that you face being a coach?
Well, in the area that I'm at, football is not, it's not the biggest sport there, right? So
Okay.
the biggest challenge, I would say, getting kids out that have, because I guess last year they had quite a few kids, and they didn't do as well in the season. So kids are like, oh, I don't want to be a part of a losing team.
Hmm.
But I let the boys know that I'm there for a reason, and I'm not just saying that I'm the reason why we'll be successful, but while I'm there, I will be giving knowledge and motivation in the sense of letting them know it's not necessarily about the wins that you see or what happened last year. It's about what you put into it and what can get out of it. So whether that be a scholarship, whether that be getting wins. They won one game last year, and with the effort alone, there's games that they should have won that can be won.
Yeah.
So I'm battling getting some kids back out, and of course some of them were seniors, so they kind of talked to the younger ones, but changing the culture in that school, because it's some low class kids. It's a good mix. It's diverse, but the lower class kids are like, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't. There's no need for me to be a part of it if we're going to
Yeah.
lose, which I understand.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I try to let them know you could be the missing piece if we get everybody to do their job and just have them believe in themselves. And I go hard for them, and I tell them I'm out here at 6 in the morning with you. So it's not something that I necessarily want to do, but I'm out here with you because you want to be here. So I'm going to be here going full force, and I'm going to work harder for you than you'll work for me, but hopefully that'll bring you up to this level.
Hmm.
So,
That's awesome, and yeah, I feel like changing culture, it's probably one of the most challenging things in any organization, in sports teams, in any other business, anything.
yeah.
Um, so, but I mean, I've seen good things and I've heard good things as well. So I'm sure it's working. I feel like it's a slow process, right? And I've seen you guys kind of like having fun as
Yeah.
a team as well, doing other stuff off the field, you know.
Yes.
And especially coming from you, that you have that motivation and that idea mindset to work hard as possible. Um, how important do you think it is to have fun?
Well, I've always thought of football as a game, which it is. So I let, and really I let anybody know that when you play a game or a sport of any sort, you can't be too high, you can't be too low. So you want to keep a level head. So what you do by doing that is you're competitive, but at the same sense, you have to understand that it is a game. So have fun, enjoy yourself. When you enjoy yourself, you tend to be able to compete at a high level, but also at a level where you're able to think things through. So you're not just enraged all the time. So a lot of kids, they get upset because they don't win, or they don't win that rep. They don't do all that thing. But at the same time, if it's not enjoyable, then you won't want to do that long term. You won't want to get past all these things, and that's what people don't get, because it's just like a job, and
Mhm.
when you get to the professional level, it is a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're making money, but you're not going to push through to get to that level if you don't enjoy it at some point in your life. So,
Mhm.
fun it brings in the bonding part, and that's what we do a lot with the
Mhm.
kids. I take them swimming. I do all these things, and I'm trying to take them to some games here and there, some different opportunities, so they can enjoy the people that they're going to be with for the majority of the time, whether it be
Mhm.
in two-a-days or the weight room, which aren't always enjoyable, but you have fun and put in that work, and then you always want to be around each other, and you understand that this is business at this time, and then we have fun as well. So,
Yeah, and I love that, and I feel like it goes back a little bit to culture as well. You know, it's almost like creating a healthy culture, right, in
yeah.
the team. So I want to ask you a little bit more about the culture, especially the culture that you're trying to imply there. Um, how what do you think is the best way to create a healthy culture? You know, it's by talking to them. It's by leading by example. Because as a coach, I feel like it's hard sometimes because you guys can only set the tone,
Mhm.
right? But you don't play,
No,
right? And like
exactly.
it's
Exactly.
unfortunately you don't play anymore. So
Yeah.
you can set the tone, but if they don't buy in, I feel like it becomes harder and harder for them to buy the idea and then create that culture that you're looking for. So what would you say is the best way to create a good culture?
I think consistency, really, because I've seen in a lot of situations where coaches will say that one thing will happen, and this is going to happen, and I'm going to do this, 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 this. But once kids don't show up, or this doesn't happen, then they stop working for the kids, or they stop showing up, and they change the whole program instead of
Hmm.
letting it pan out and then creating itself into a culture. So my thought is, well, even when they don't show up, they're kids. They want to see what you will do, because their last coach either told them that it's not, well, if you're not coming, then I'm not coming. They want to see if you'll give up on them.
Hmm.
But if you keep fighting for them and keep working, they'll understand, well, maybe this guy is different. Maybe this team is different. Maybe these coaches are different. And we can actually buy in, because
Hmm.
they've been done wrong maybe all their life and been told something, and then not been given it been given to them. People
Hmm.
make promises all the time, and I tell the kids, and I tell my own kids, I say, I will never promise you something that's not going to happen. So unless we're going to to the store to get this, then I'm not going to promise you that, because it may change. So I can't promise you that we'll win. What I can promise you is that I'm gonna be there in the morning unless something terrible happens. I will make sure you have your workouts. I will make sure that we're going full speed, and I'm present at that moment, and not off, because that's my responsibility. So if I can continue doing that, then they will gravitate towards that and understand that, oh, he is telling the truth, and this is not just a show up front to get us out there and to make us perform here and there. So even on the low days, I have to keep the energy. I have to keep that mindset of success and positivity. Even if I'm correcting someone, I still don't want to yell in an intense way of anger. I tell them, if I yell, it's because so you can hear me. Like I'm more upset when I'm quiet. That's how I am. So if I'm yelling, that's a good thing because it's just an energy. That's what it is. It's an intensity, not an anger.
Yeah.
That's where some people, because kids shut down now. Players and grown men shut down when you yell at them. So it's really, you have to, and then communicate with them. Communication is key, and keep doing it, actions and words. It just takes both.
Yeah, I really like that, and I think I might apply that to when I'm coaching. Because sometimes, yes, I yell as well
Yeah,
and I think it's not that I'm upset. I'm just trying to make them hear me.
it's
So I think,
passion. Yeah,
yeah, for sure, for sure.
it,
Um, and I love the willingness that you have, um, but unfortunately in teams and clubs and high school, college, um, professional not much because it's about the result and it's their job. But I feel like a lot of coaches they don't have that willingness that you were talking about,
yeah,
right? And you you played in high school, you play in college, and now you are a coach. So you know both sides of the coin, right?
yeah.
So my question for you is, uh, what do you think a player could do when their coaches are not willing to do that as much? Because let's say, I'm in your team but maybe you are not there on time. Maybe, you are just there just because, it's your job. I
Yeah.
mean, you don't really care that much. Um, how uh, I can do something about it for the team. Because it's hard for me to come to you and ask you for more because you are the coach. It's not
Yeah.
like you're gonna listen to me at this
Yeah.
point. So I feel like it's more by setting the example. But what are your thoughts on what players can do to set the tone? What players can do to kind of show their teammates that like, hey guys, let's go. We gotta get this done. We don't want to keep losing. We want to get the results that we want. Nobody's here to lose, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it will happen. But so, what are your thoughts on a few things that players can do in order to improve the team culture, improve the team in general?
Well, I firmly believe, once again, consistency.
Hmm.
I've been in situations where the coach is not there; they are just there for the paycheck,
Yeah.
and I'm like, man, why? And I try to figure this out. I'm like, why is this the case?
Hmm.
But when you get up to the high school level, there should be, and hopefully there is someone mature enough to understand that. Well,
Yeah.
let us do this because we don't want to lose, and I hope with that consistency of whether starting practice on time, because if you're doing it every day, you know that you need to warm up, get in your lines or whatever your structure is for your football practice or whatever.
Yeah.
Get in line and start doing it, and the coach will be like, oh man, they are taking this serious. And hopefully because it's a grown man. Or in high school, because if you're in there and maybe administration sees that they're going and the coach is not there, maybe they'll take that step and say, we
Yeah.
need to get somebody in here that's serious for these kids
Hmm.
because they're keeping their grades up. They're coming here every day. And last year, there wasn't that. Last year, there wasn't expectations being held, but these kids want this. So let's get somebody in here that wants to actually coach the kids rather than just have a title or a paycheck.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't work, but all you can do is really kind of step up and be. It's very hard, like you said. It's very hard to tell a coach, "Well, coach, can you come to practice on time?"
Yeah.
If they need to talk to the administration, because typically they have a boss. I think in every situation, even in the NFL and these major league sports, the coaches have a boss and they can be fired. They have a contract just as well.
Yeah.
So if they're not standing up to and upholding their end of the deal, then go to the board, go to this, and that means that there is a change wanted. And within school, I take a direct correlation to student athletes. So good programs typically have good academics because they have to be able to play.
Yeah.
And they're decent academics at least. So if they see maybe a uprise in academics and activities, maybe community service, things like that, being involved with the school, and they see a change in some of these kids, then they'll take an interest and understand that athletics are important. Athletics have helped me get through things. Athletics have helped my friends get through things, and it's pushed people to go further because you have that. So it just takes a spark, just a little spark from somewhere. And I know there's a lot of outside programs that people do. So maybe they'll bring that type of program mentality in and try to motivate their team, and hopefully they follow them. But all you can do is continue. That leader, like, man, he just never stops. Man, he just never stops. And maybe they're like, well, let's just get on board. That's the hope of it. And that's all you can do. Even as a coach, that's all you can do is whether you're trying to get other coaches on board or you're trying to get other players on board, do your part. That way, no one can ever say that you didn't do what you're supposed to do. So it's all a puzzle. So do your part. Do your part.
Yeah, no, and I like that, and I feel like you mentioned something that is stepping up. It's pretty difficult, but it's a risk reward situation. If stepping up, you're taking a big step. You're becoming the leader, but the rewards that you can get from that, it's pretty big. So most of the time, it's worth it. Yes, we might get scared. What can happen? But I feel like it's always gonna be worth, especially because you are stepping out of your comfort zone. So yeah, I think I hope people that are listening to us, they can coaches through and athletes, in any level, they can step up and do something about it, because I feel like it's extremely important, especially nowadays where I feel like a lot of players, a lot of athletes, a lot of coaches, they just sit back and watch, and that's why they never grow, and then oh, but I didn't have the same luck and blah blah blah. But like, well, you also didn't do much, so
Exactly.
so yeah,
That's the difference. And to go on that, like people sit back and then they want to be the kid. They want to be liked, so they won't force the kids to do anything. And I'm not very forceful, but that's a tactic of motivation. Like if you're a good coach, then you'll figure out the way to motivate and get them to do where it's not forcing. You allow them the opportunity to want to work hard, to want to do this, to want to do that. And a lot of coaches just want to yell and be like, well, just do this just because. And I had a mindset, I just did whatever my coach asked me to do. Because he asked me to do it. He's my coach. I trust him. And we had success. In high school, had great success. And then college was the same way. And but then this generation of kids, they may not listen up front. They may not have the best home life where like listening is just natural. So maybe they have things going on at home. So they need somebody they can trust. But so yelling at them is not the best way to approach them. So, but each kid may be different. So I start talking to these kids, get to know your players, get to know each other, and you start to realize, well, this is how I have to approach this kid. And you build a bond. That's why I do the fun stuff on the outside. Because people start telling you, well, I can't make it because I have to work. I'm like, man, you're always working when you're not in practice. This is crazy. So you start realizing they need that for their family or whatever. And then you start seeing the ins and outs of what you can do to help these kids, and they need somebody they can trust. They need somebody they can lean on. They need a family, which that team really can be that family.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to build. Trust. With trust, anybody can be successful because they start fighting for each other, not fighting with each other. It's like they're fighting for, like they're gonna back you up. They're gonna come in every situation. So, and that I think it does start from the coaches. It does. So.
Yeah, and very often I feel like we believe that being fair is treating everyone the same, but I do believe that being fair is treating people how they should be treated, not necessarily by treating them the same. They are not the same person,
Exactly.
so you can treat the same way, you know. So
Exactly.
yeah,
That's
that boundary that you're talking about, it's extremely important, and I feel like it makes a difference. And for me as an athlete, if I feel like I have a bond with the coach and he treats me the way that I believe that I should be treated because who I am, I can promise you I'll play the entire season for him, you know, because he's doing something for me, and I'll be more than happy to give something back to him. So that's a it's a really interesting point that sometimes I feel like we forget a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, and a lot of people do, but it's just when you can sit back and just step back and take a look at it. You're like, why did I play for the coach I played for? He was always there for me.
Yeah.
He was always um, um, when bad situations were bad and when good situations were good. He was always there and maybe asking about me, asking about my family, asking about different things like that. The smallest gestures people don't understand make the biggest impact.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, definitely.
yeah, it's care. So.
Yeah, for sure. Joe, my last questions for you. It's a question that we always ask our guest speakers. I'm always interested in knowing how people define success, you know, because I feel like everyone defines success in a different way. So, what's your definition of success?
You know, success is such a broad term, and I would say success is really what you set your goals to. So it's not necessarily failure. When you fail, you don't succeed either. It's really the giving your all and trying. I said before that it's about effort. I go in the weight room with these kids and they're wanting to, well, I want to bench this much, I want to squat this much. I'm like, well, you don't even know the technique. So what you focus on, don't worry about the people around you. Worry about, and don't worry about the weight you put on the bar. They're not at the same level. Everybody's not the same. So I have them focus on their technique and then their progression. So then I have them look at your success would be to get this percentage of growth in this amount of time, or this. But try to reach your goals and give your all. If you can give your all every time, I say you're successful because you are giving literally everything you have to give. You may not be as talented as someone else, so you may not reach that same level. But that doesn't mean you didn't give everything you had. Yeah, it's people will think that they're failures all the time, but I'm not a great drawer. So if I can draw a nice picture that's somewhat decent, I may hang that up on the refrigerator. It may be something like that because I'm like, well, this is successful for me. No one else may not understand that, but that's not my talent. And you have to really just look at yourself and see what you're good at. And if you're not good at something, the fact that you try and give it your all, I believe that's a success in itself. So.
Yeah, awesome. Again, that's something that I haven't heard before, and it's crazy because I've been doing podcasts for a while now, and every time people come up with different definitions, and it's always different and it's always good, and it all makes sense, you
Yeah.
know. So I I like that one a lot. Um, Thank you so much for joining me, sharing all of that, everything that you have been doing. I think is inspiring for me as an athlete, as a coach, sometimes for young kids.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm sure a lot of people will benefit from that. So I really appreciate you coming out, finding a time. Hope you guys have a wonderful season
Yes.
next season. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'm going to be following your stuff. So, and I have been. So I love it. Keep that up and just keep pushing.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.